All right, hey, welcome back to the show. I'm Great Grandpa Beebe. I'm here today with my friend Ryan Ruegg, and we're in Leadville, Colorado.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise, yeah. So yeah, we've been hanging out and playing music and, talking the deep inner workings of how the universe and the mind relates to music and whether it can destroy the society or not. Sorry.
All just on our 2-minute walk over here. We got all that done. Yeah.
I like to start off shallow, and then jump into the deep end later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We're getting there.
Yeah, so it snowed. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it did snow. Yeah, we were having a little conversation about Plato and the Dorian mode.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's intriguing in ways that, like you were talking about Dostoevsky and Brothers Karamazov, how he kind of brought to the forefront this idea of the power of, loosely speaking, the power of evil versus the power of good. And if there's power in one vein, then the other one has just as much power.
Exactly, right.
It's like a juxtaposition kind of a thing.
Yeah, and how did we jump into that? Or that...
Was it like Plato and how he thought it was going to be the downfall of society to play the Dorian modes?
And so you were saying, okay, well that's good news because then music can have...
So if it has the power to destroy civilization, then it has the power to rebuild it as well.
The deep impact goes both ways.
Yes.
That's how what reminded us of that.
Yeah. And since we're both musicians by trade, that's...
So it was a good walk.
We don't get paid a lot, but we have all the power.
So it was a good 2-block walk over here to the Silver Dollar. What do you think of this place?
Oh man,
it's the Silver Dollar.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. The Silver Dollar. Like you said, the Silver King built this place.
Well, no, Tabor didn't build it. It was built Leadville. We were talking about the Tabor Opera House, which is across the street.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of the history that's happened on these streets. And
Doc Holliday gambling, shooting people in the vicinity, I believe.
And I noticed the first thing that Matt remarked on was the Chase Brothers piano, which is right behind.
Yeah, I have a picture of it. I'll put it up on the on the screen.
Right behind the camera. But yeah, we were talking about.
Because my piano in Norwalk at the Water Bottom stage is the A.B. Chase Piano Company, and that was built right in Norwalk, Ohio. And it's considered to be one of the top 5 piano manufacturers in the world at that time, turn of the century, 1800s to 1900s.
Really? Yeah. Well, I know that's a super old piano. I know it's 1800s, but I don't know. I know it predates.
It has the same red-black styling. It has the same keys, same lettering, same font style, same font color.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be the Chase Brothers, A.B. Chase Piano Company. There's got to be. I'm researching it later. I don't know yet, but.
All right. Well, now you need to put a sign up behind it that says "Don't shoot the piano player. He's doing the best he can."
Yeah, because and that's a classic old saying, and it originated in this bar. Is that right?
Originated in this bar. Indeed, and
that's probably why they made the backdrops of those that piano like red, because piano players just get shot, there'd be blood all over the piano.
Maybe, made it really easy to transition from set to set.
I don't know. I'm just postulating. I'm just it's possible. There's possibilities here.
Well, no, it's a neat old story actually that Oscar Wilde had made that phrase popular because he was performing here in Leadville across the street. And this is a story that I just briefly started telling Matt.
This is the Tabor Opera House. On
the way down here, yeah. And so Oscar Wilde would do his performances over there where, the east side of town was kind of like the high society area. And
now, Oscar Wilde was an author, though. What was he performing?
He was an author. He was doing orations, He would
Neil Gaiman does that now a lot.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his, his whole performance, but he was here visiting Leadville,
Nice.
At that time, culture was a huge thing, for countries, and so intermingling of cultures. So the East Side was the high society cultural center, and where we're at now, the West Side, is where
you get shot in the street, possibly, and
where we would hang out.
Everyday people, man. It's like Family Stone would say.
But Oscar Wilde was not hoity-toity enough to where he wouldn't come over to.
Well, this is where all the cool people hung. Like honestly, like
where the real parties happen.
Yeah. Anybody who has a lot of power and influence is completely stifled in matters of having fun or letting their guard down at all, right? Like if you have so much that you have to kind of keep a guard on it, in a way.
Oh yeah.
Like,
especially at that time.
Mentally speaking, and just like, you didn't have like digital money, you didn't have like safe havens for your money, unless you just buried it somewhere and made a map.
Wild West.
Yeah.
Wild West, baby. And
Colorado.
Yeah, and it's still volatile up here to this day. We were talking about that too, just the elevation, 10,000 feet, how it affects the body, the mind,
Is this the highest county in the United States? Or?
It is the highest city.
Yeah. I feel it. I have a headache because of the elevation. I believe. I'm blaming it on that right now, but
I ordered Matt not to drink any water up here.
You want to have as much dehydration as possible, because the water at this height starts boiling inside of your body.
Referring to an earlier spoonery.
98.6 degrees, man. Your blood's already boiling, man. Like.
So to finish my story about Oscar Wilde, he comes over here. Live music, splash is still a common occurrence here.
Even at noon o'clock on what is today? Sunday?
Today is Sunday. Great day to come in here and jam.
Yeah, Bloody Marys,
Oh yeah, a lot of music has happened. A side note, music history, the old American song "Home on the Range."
Oh yeah.
Reportedly written right here in this in this bar.
Damn.
In this town. Except it had.
So they used to shoot piano players, and they used to
even
sing
ones
about
that
Home on
wrote
the Range.
huge.
Well, there's probably a lot of. What my thinking is on this is that like you probably had a lot of cattle ranches. Meanwhile on the ranch down there at the bottom of the Rockies, there's probably a lot of cattle ranches on the plains, and then they're all up here in the Rockies. And it's probably like an arduous journey to get here, So it's not like you're just gonna jump back down on the range real quick.
No, you're living here.
Yeah. And you bet everything on Searching for Gold during the 49ers rush, and people probably sang about nostalgic things about being on the cattle ranch.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Well, actually, not to refute that theory.
Okay, yeah.
But actually, the Home on the Range words were actually changed, I think, in the 1950s. The original song, the tune, was, I think the title was My Old Mountain Home.
Oh, okay.
And then it went through an alteration
so
change.
The range is actually the mountain range?
Well...
Okay,
I think Home on the Range was added decades later.
Yeah.
As they changed. But the tune, "Oh Give Me a Home," and there's I can't think of the lyrics. But my friend posted an article about the history of that song.
Where Buffalo Roam.
But it's not Buffalo Roam.
Oh.
It's
like the original lyrics.
The original lyrics. We'll have to maybe post a link.
Yeah. Cool.
So Oscar Wilde visits this side of town, and he looks over and notices a sign hanging above this Chase Brothers piano.
Yeah.
That says, "Please don't shoot the piano player. He's doing the best that he can." And it was because of that, of seeing that sign, he was so taken aback by him that when he returned to Europe and would speak in Ireland and all over Europe,
Yeah.
he would tell the story about how wild the American West was and how here we retained what he considered the truest form of art criticism, is where you can actually be shot for performing bad art. And he references the sign that he saw here at the Board of Trade, legendary silver dollar. That's his reference, and it was because of his speech of that in the Impressions of the American West, why that became such an iconic picture of the American West. And when you see the old silent films, they'll have a picture that says "Don't shoot the piano player." So that's a neat little tidbit about Leadville history. But,
that's really, like, everybody knows it subconsciously, like, seen it in media, movies, everywhere, you know, like, at least all through the 20th century, you know, like, it was definitely everywhere. Like, it's just because it's farcical to even think of that now, you know? Like,
it is, yeah.
Which is great. I mean, we live in a lot less violent society. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Well, and you know what? I'm thankful for it because having played the piano here for 15 years, you know, I'm still around.
Right.
And I surely would probably would have been shot. I've gotten through some bad nights, you know, and come out alive. You know, so.
Come out the other side unscathed, mostly.
Yeah. So it is a nice badge of courage, you know, and reassurance.
Nowadays, if you're a piano player and they don't like it, they'll just buy you a bottle worth of shots, and you wake up and you want to be dead.
It's there forever. It's on social media.
Yeah. No one watches that stuff. What do you?
Oh no, it's gone.
Life is like, I don't know. There's too much to live in real world society to go to the internet society.
Absolutely, and you know, you can just make up what you want anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's basically all we've ever done. You know, we stopped living. We started making this story. I've been reading Ishmael lately, so that's been forefront of my mind. Daniel Quinn wrote this book called Ishmael. Laura Jean gave it to me, shout out. He's very going into what is your mythology of the world, like what is your culture, what is your mythology behind it, and that basically means like what is your not just like your gods, but like your way of life and your story about it. You know, the Romans had a really tightly knit mythology that's what we think of when we think mythology a lot of times.
Okay.
Where like their science and their religion was intertwined. You know, like they had gods of like thunder, and it's like, oh, that's why it thunders because that guy did it. He's a god. You know, or something like that. And
right, yeah, I have a hard time remembering that. I'm good, Kevo. Thanks. Appreciate it, bud. Yeah, I want to say thanks to Tyler. Tyler's a great songwriter, too. But that's interesting because I don't really think of that. When you think of Roman culture, you think of Christian. And so when you say the word mythology,
maybe
I automatically go like Egyptian. Or
maybe I was thinking ancient Greece too.
But I forgot that the Greek culture, really
kind of held over a little bit. I mean, Norse mythology. The only other mythologies that I even really know are like the Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft. Are you familiar? He's an author of like 1800s.
I'm relatively ignorant on the subject.
He's he did a lot of like what they would call existential horror genre. He like invented it basically, where he like late 1800s they had all of these like new science discoveries, and he's like trying to incorporate all of them in this really weird way with these monsters that didn't really exist, but did they? kind of thing, and like the writing is just like captivating, But so he has all like Cthulhu is like one of the most popular of his monsters, so to say. And the Call of Cthulhu is like, it was a short story that he wrote.
Okay.
And then there's like a bunch of other different like monsters and like entities, in the book. They speak this Rhyolith speak of this whole demonic language that, brings forth these like crocodile people. It's really crazy. Like, I haven't read a lot of it. I just
Void Singers.
What's that?
Void Singers. Sorry, a little internal reference there.
We fell into the void.
Yeah. No, that's cool, and I really think that it was on my brother's reading list. I wish I read more fiction. I think it would be really good for me, and I love it. I was telling you earlier that I have just a hard time really escaping into that and sinking into.
I went through a phase where I read a lot of nonfiction for a long time. And I've just recently, like in the last like maybe 4 years, I've kind of come back to fiction again.
Yeah.
But it's really like, it's kind of eye-opening in ways where like you realize that like everything we do is kind of based off of a fictional story, and everything that we think is nonfiction will probably be disproven at some point. I would assume.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if it exists as a thought, there's got to be basis for it.
Yeah. And that brings it back to Ishmael, because I mean he's basically what is the story of our culture now, And he's talking about, it's like, we don't have a mythology here, like what would that even be? What would that story entail? And he's just like, tell me your story of creation. Every culture, that's where it all starts. Is you have this creation story. And ours is like, there was a Big Bang built like 10, 15 billion years ago, and then, there's like a primordial soup of like stars exploding until our planets formed and morphed into the circles, these spheres that they are. And then you have billions of years of life and, like in the sea and then to the land until man were developed, and then that's the end of history.
Right.
And it's like, okay, is man the god of your story then? Because if it was all leading up to this, and we could be blinked out in a matter of seconds by an asteroid or whatever, And so
we'd have some warning. I think we've come that far.
If the powers that be decided to tell us.
They're on their way. They're on their way to Mars.
Yeah. Hey, we're on our way to Mars, but just to let you guys know, you got about 24 hours left, so good luck. Yeah. Thanks.
I don't know. Sounds super intriguing,
Yeah.
And I think you may have, relit an old interest. I like I've been a lot more into, music, philosophy, and creativity, and different things in the physical sciences. But I've been really trying to get in touch with some of that.
So
I haven't even uttered the word Dostoevsky in 10 years until our walk over here.
Well, I feel like I was part of that, and I like that. I appreciate that.
I was thinking, Ishmael wasn't a character.
Yeah, he was the gorilla.
In the book, no, I was thinking of Dostoevsky character.
Oh, okay.
No, Alyosha was
okay.
who I was confused.
Okay.
But yeah, I think my brother actually was either in the process of reading that book or it was on his list. I'll have to look into it. Yeah, so, I wish I could respond with.
Well, you responded in a certain.
Experience.
You did respond in a certain way, though. Like where you're like, all right, I like to study philosophy and I like to study these different things, but all right, so take this as a grain of salt, right? Like once we get beyond the science of consciousness itself, right? Like how do we organize our own thoughts? How do we organize our own our mindscape? I think that like what you would call like the operating system for the computer of our brain would be essentially a story. It's like, what is your story of like how you got to play music? Well, I was 16 and I played rock and roll, and in the basement for years, and then Metallica, or whatever it was, but like, and then it got really hard and shit happened in my life, and that pushed me in this whole other direction, or whatever it is. But I mean, the way that you're telling it is completely in a story,
Right. So are you talking about just sort of like the organization of that?
The organization of thoughts in general, I would say, because if you read like a chemistry textbook or something, the first chapter will inevitably be, like, oh, well, in ancient Greece you had these guys who had this philosophical question, like, what is the smallest measure of unit that you can get? If I have this like chunk and I cut it in half, this brick, and then I cut that brick in half, and then I cut that brick in half, and I do it an infinite amount of times, like, how small can I get that infinitesimal speck of dust before it becomes unsplittable, And then they call that like the atomos, or the atom that we call it now.
Okay, right.
And that's kind of like the basis of all chemistry, the way that they teach it, depending on what kind of chemistry text. If it's a good chemistry textbook, in my mind, that's how it starts. That's how Isaac Asimov would have started, or that's how he did.
Yeah, and you know what? That's funny because it's very similar. That paradox exists in so many things and it's one of those like understandable but inexplainable things. It's like the nature of a parabola. And one thing that I discovered that nature actually exists in music too. I didn't realize it until I was playing a piano with the cover off.
Yeah.
And I was messing around with different like stable intervals. If you just play a certain number of half steps, a diminished third can go on forever. That's stable music.
Once you take the muffle off the top of the piano, you hear resonate across all strings, any note that you hit, or any group of notes.
Oh yeah, the sympathetic vibrations and whatnot. But what I'm referring to is if you look at, because the piano is laid out, you see a couple of different scales, diatonic scale and then a pentatonic scale. So it has a form. But when you take the cover off, you can see it purely in a linear fashion. In other words, there's no organization of the black and white notes. It's all. So if you play a diminished chord or an augmented chord, there's an equal separation in the frequency.
Right.
A balanced framework of that wave. But what I noticed is when you break down the harmonic series. This is where I'm relating to that. If you keep dividing. If you break down the harmonic series and you look at it on a piano, it actually creates a parabolic function. You keep breaking it in half. If you take a C chord and you build a harmonic structure on a C. And you keep breaking, you break the frequency in half, or you double it rather.
Okay, with the
you go up, next octave up, then the fifth, the harmonic series. But if you actually look at the frequencies, it creates a parabola in the dividing line right where it breaks. The point that you cannot split it anymore is the release of the tension into the next thing. If you were doing like a C harmonic series, it would release tension at F. And it's a physical, and it's just like a parabola where you get closer and closer and closer and closer, and then it has no change but to turn from night to day.
Wow. I've never heard it explained that way before, but that's really cool. It reminds me of
I've never explained it that way, and that didn't make any sense.
No, but
it's just a relationship that I like noticed.
It definitely does, though, because it's almost like let's say like was it exponential curve going up, right? It starts off as nothing, and then it goes straight up to infinity, really, like in a real quick amount of time. And so when you have 0 to infinity, like you have this like like what's the difference between zero and infinity? You know, like one of them kind of almost resolves the other in that kind of aspect.
Yeah, I
And
know.
maybe
We're
not.
touching upon
maybe
somebody
it's really abstract, but also, like, what is the ratio of those intervals? You know, like, is it like a Fibonacci sequence, or is it like I wonder, you know, what that harmonic ratio is for each like interval? And there, I mean, there's a lot of scale systems in like India that have 22 note scale, you know, and there's so many more intervals in there too. And you can break it apart to infinitesimal amounts of, you know, intervals from there too, if you wanted to.
No thanks. Music's complicated enough for me as it is.
Yeah.
I'll think
Fair
about.
enough, yeah.
I'll think about exponentiating the complexity of music, maybe in about 300 years.
There you go. Yeah. And when I'm playing music, I don't think of that. Obviously.
How can I make this even more
How
complex?
can I make this harder? Yeah, on myself. Just in myself in general. Like, I'm having a way too easy of a day. Like, everything's just going my way. I just gotta really put a wrench in the gears, man. I just gotta, like, right in the spokes. Just skin a couple knees, like.
That's my operating process right there.
Self-depreciation. Yeah, it's funny, man.
Then the easy stuff becomes really easy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Once you push yourself to the beyond and then come back again, and that's
It's not easy, but reflexive. A natural output.
But also in terms, I mean, all right. So you've kind of really pushed yourself in a music school sensibility of training yourself as a classical pianist over the years.
It has, yeah. Well, just trying to, like what you were saying, just understanding the timeline gives you a perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm a student of music from all angles. I really like to see and identify those relationships.
But that has completely changed your perspective on playing piano compared to like me, where I just kind of like. I learned a few classical pieces, a few harder like jazz standards here and there, but I don't always retain those real well. And it always just breaks down to the lowest common denominator with my playing, and so I'm constantly just like thinking of like, okay, well, what's the bass pattern, and then and it changes here. Okay, cool, and like I gotta think about that part, but mostly I'm just not thinking about the left hand and playing the right. And then if I want to make the left hand complicated, I'll think over in this direction. Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, you definitely have to. There's only limited space up there. You have to sort of assign your thinking.
There's like a computational limit of what you can do at all once. I feel like
there is, and that's key to my training. With my younger students, it's all about working smarter, not harder.
That's what my chemistry teacher used to say.
Yeah, it's really important. To make sense of things where you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Compartmentalize.
Because when the first really good band that I started myself, right, I was about 26. And I was about 3 years out from my music degree or whatever, and so I was like, all right, I really don't want to like use music theory, but I'm gonna have a bass player that's playing with me right now, and so I have to know how to tell him what to play. So I based everything off of a 1 and 5 of any scale that I was in. I knew what scale that I was playing, and I didn't know what it was called all the time, but I knew that it started on an A, and I knew that the 5 was an E or whatever it was, right?
That's just the same way that music developed, basically. So that's good track.
All the notes in between were just like riffs or melody or whatever you would call them that I would just meticulously put together over, a night or something. Like the first song that we did in that band, me and the drummer wrote it together, and he's like, that was great. Can we do more? And I was like, he's like, do you have more? And I was like, yes. And then I went and wrote that song that I said that I had. You know?
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Nice. Well, yeah, that's good. And we were talking about that too. Is
just completely lying about everything as a musician.
Well, no, being able to just like see. Yeah. Well, no, being able to see things from that explorative.
Yeah.
Where you just.
Well, I mean, it's
try not to predetermine the sound, but still be able to, discover.
To clarify what I was meant by that, I would say that I was giving myself an ultimatum or a deadline, and that really like pushes me to finish something, Because if I say
me to run away and hide.
Oh, okay.
When I commit.
If I tell someone I can do something and I can't do it yet, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I gotta at least get halfway there,
Oh yeah, no, that's one of the hard things about growth, but unnecessary.
Yeah. I hear that.
And yeah, we were talking about that too. Getting up there on stage for the first couple of years, and
yeah, what's your motivation? How do you overcome? There's a whole.
How are you going to react?
Fears.
Yeah, to all the all those waves of emotion that are going to hit you, and what you do when you don't have fun, when you don't have a set.
If you're afraid to be in front of people, if you're afraid to talk to people in general, you know what I mean? Like, but you're on stage now, and it's like
it's tough. I'm a background guy. That's why I need a front. I need a front. I have a hard time doing that. I like performing, but and I can do solo performances, but I need one of those in the introducer. I
love being a background guy, man. It's so great. It's so like this is the bands that I'm in right now. I'm more of a background guy mostly, and it's like one band's not my band. I don't write anything. I'm just back there making comments and jokes and like playing the part, and it's like I'm in a band. This is great,
That's where I want to be too, but he with what is it? I don't know. The way I look at it is when I have the ability to help, those with the ability, and when you have the responsibility too, So I like to lead in a certain capacity.
If you're a front man, you have to have a certain direction for your band too. Like what are you saying? What is your story of tonight? And one of my buddies, KO, Kevin Overmeyer, is a great musician, just down to earth dude. And the way that he does it, I always admired a lot because if he's in front of a microphone and he's like in between songs, you know who the bartender is, you know what the weather is outside, you know that you're the audience, you know that who you're supposed to be now. And it's like
just connecting, tying it all together.
Yeah. It's he's just like every aspect of what is happening, he's gonna tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And you just feel so comfortable with that now too. You're like, oh wow, yeah, this is a great night. It's weather's
just
great.
Brought it all together,
I will tip my bartender, and I will I do feel like we are a family now or whatever,
Yeah, that's one of those personality characteristics that I can do it accidentally in a comfortable setting, but if it seems like that's my job or duty, then it turns into something that I can't do. That's I have a lot of appreciation, thanks, and respect for people that I've played music with before, and band members that can do that and bring that, and allow me to be comfortably in my capacity where I can bring musically the best that I can do.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts about a show, honestly. It's like the banter in between, like the songs, because if you don't have that, it's okay, it's fine if that happens, and sometimes you're just putting across the mood, what the music is, what the vibe of the whole place becomes, and that's fantastic, But I love it when someone can get on the microphone and say a bunch of crazy things and make everyone just fit in this big giant story or something,
Yeah, exactly, and that's you're reminding me of my buddy Dean Farmer that's been opening for us for the last couple of shows. We did a Halloween dance party, and
Nice.
and he was a Mad Hatter, but he helped us so much just with that. He emceed for the costume party,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
does a little opening set, and oh man, he's just so awesome at
Yeah.
revving up the crowd and connecting.
Yeah.
Man, I get so nervous just to jump up there and be the first one to try and build that connection.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
more like, I love it when people are talking. I subtly creep in on the piano, and then once I have their attention, I'm like, oh yeah, now I got your ear. I'll keep playing.
Yeah.
And then if it builds up into I'll finally talk to the audience.
Yeah.
Then we're on to something, but I can't just like, hi everybody, my name's Ryan, and we're gonna play a show. No,
Well, that's where it
the
helps.
first way for me to like really start internally criticizing myself and start attacking my own confidence, and that begins the shutting of the door between you and the audience. I need someone to open it up.
That's where taking on a persona, creating like a new character for yourself comes in. I think a lot of people who are good at it is because they don't think that it's themselves doing it. They're projecting it onto this character, like Bob Dylan, man. He was master at that. He's just like I don't know what it means to me, man. What does it mean to you? I'm gonna turn everything around that you're saying and think that I'm a paradox and I don't fit in anyway, man. Or whatever he
I
says.
know, see, but I can't really do. Maybe that's one of
Well,
my.
he had his own stick, he formulated it. He's a genius in that respect, Tom Waits is very much that way too, where he's like, well, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a funnel lobotomy, or whatever he's saying. It's just completely ridiculous all the time,
Yeah, I know, and I have a hard time really dropping the seriousness of my nature. I'm very dedicated to being real.
Yeah.
If I can perform and I do, and so I try and put it into song and in between the boundaries of each song, I'm trying to learn, and even that's a big step for me.
Yeah.
Because I like to stay all me up there, and that makes it really, really tough and sensitive. I break down on stage.
I'm reminded of a quote by the great comedian Stephen Wright, who's completely deadpan. Where he's just like, well, when I started playing piano, they said practice makes perfect, and then later on the teacher told me, well, nobody's perfect, so I stopped practicing.
That's a good bit. I like that one.
That guy likes to speak in conundrums.
Yeah.
That guy's I painted lines across my sunglasses and put dots on. I put lines across my sunglasses. And at night I would sit on the roof with my girlfriend, put my glasses on, look at the stars, and the stars would become the notes on the staff, and I would play the stars. And then I would ask my girlfriend, "Will you always love me?" She's like, "I don't even love you now."
Oh man, that's great.
And then there was a shooting star, and I almost broke my neck. I'm remembering these pieces, but man, his bits, man, they floor me, man. Stephen Wright, man, check that guy out.
I like. Yeah, that stuff hits home. I like it. I like having musical thoughts like that.
Exactly.
Musical randomness and being playful like that.
Yeah, because that's what it is. I think that's the highest form of it,
Oh yeah, when you can just be, free to capture everything and not, be suspicious of it.
Yeah, are you is your camera panorama or is it focus? And both are good. You know what I mean? And it's just how you're going to define those terms maybe too. forget what I was gonna say then. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I like being lighthearted. Oh yeah, the Confucianism is very much along those lines too.
Yeah.
Where like the highest form of like Confucius thought is like something called Ren, like R-E-N, where like it's just basically interactions between people. It's essentially what it is. It's like games, drinking, music, singing together, whatever, like activities that people are doing.
Yeah, just totally unobstructed.
Yeah, exactly. There's like no God, and it's not a religion. It's just like, it's a philosophy. It's a way,
Yeah, it'd be nice to attain that on, in a musical sense. Between a band is great.
Yeah.
You experience that, so yeah.
And between the music and the audience, and then is the audience or are they on stage? It's like if you're on stage, can you put them on stage? Can you put them on the spot? I mean, a lot of comedians do that. I guess that's kind of like that's kind of an old trope,
Yeah, and that's the first key that you're doing a great job is when the dance floor is active, the people are being themselves, and having a good time.
When I was up in Massachusetts, I played like 2 shows.
If you come this way, I'm thinking, thanks, Kevin.
I played for this it was a Unitarian church that my benefactors were going to, invited me to play this coffee shop thing. And Universal Unitarian, they just they recognize all religions and no religions. And, a lot of it's music based. Like the piano player there was amazing. He every morning, every Sunday morning. Or I was only there maybe 3 or 4 times, so he played the UC one morning and all these bigger pieces, and it was well done.
My band wants to do a pilgrimage to San Francisco to go to the Church of John Coltrane.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
The Broncos play to. Oh, that's not a Broncos shirt. At 2. It takes me a while to remember when it's Sunday. Football's always the best indicator. Thanks, man. I'm watching my Browns get thoroughly destroyed over here in the background. But it's not
the Patriots are usually pretty solid. They won half the Super Bowls this decade, I think, if I could remember correctly. And that. They're a Tom Brady or something, maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't think he's the guy there anymore. But there we go. First down, close to a touchdown.
Third down, or third quarter, maybe they'll be comeback kids, get the underdog. Get the dog pound, underdogs happening.
I like it just being
They're a lot better than they used to be, though, I'll say that.
I like it for the people. I like it for what it means to,
Exactly. That's what sports are. It's root for the home team. Doesn't matter.
People together.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can become detrimental in ways, I think, but at the same time, it's largely harmless, I would say. And
that's a debate for another day.
Depends on if the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl and everyone destroys the city and turns over cop cars and catches them on fire. That's more a crowd mentality idea too.
Well, and then there's the whole theory of sports only exist to give men something to do, so they don't worry about changing with force the circumstances around them.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah.
So it's kind of
masculine distraction.
A masculine distraction.
Or
I've heard it referred to as that. I don't know if I totally subscribe to that theory. I think people need a level of competitive fight.
It's also, it almost throws back to the era of Spartans too, where they kind of promoted this idea of masculine competition and keeping it as kind of a zeitgeist or as kind of an idea that's circulating in the culture.
Well, it has to be a virtue to keep your species alive.
For defense against the outside barbarians or whatever, like that was kind of like strategy in a lot of ways.
Well, there's been a lot of strategies that just somebody dropped a tiny little drop in the pool of humanity, and now it's like changes the color.
And it becomes translucent. You can't even see it anymore once it becomes so dispersed.
But it's here.
Dissolved into it, It's just baked into the cake,
We are something of a cake, more like a
creatures of habit, more or less.
hell of a big old chop suey.
The habits become the actions become the self kind of mentality.
Right, yeah, who said that? Ideas become actions become...
Yeah. I don't know, but it always stuck with me.
I was affected by it too.
Yeah.
That was Tyler. I didn't even know he played the piano, but
right on.
You notice he was over there. I think he was going. It was major and minor, but I think he was set firmly in the glory of it. Make him play a happy man.
And
Give him a little bit of assurance.
Yeah. This place is such an anomaly to me, dude. Like, we were both talking about small towns. Like, I come from Norwalk, which I consider a small town.
Right.
But there's like 16,000 people in Norwalk, right? There's only 3,000 people here.
And we consider it a big city.
Yeah. And there's like how many different venues with stages in this place, too, You guys have like an open mic, you guys have like pianos and bars and shit. Like, we don't have
the
shit
music
like
scene
that.
has really been lively the last few years. I've been
That's awesome.
proud to be part of it.
When I grew up in Norwalk, man, like as a kid, like there wasn't anything even remotely resembling this. We had to like beg the owner of one of the bars that would let us play, like if we moved the pool table to do it, And then even then, the cops would just send in underage people to like try to get the bar shut down, and that would happen half the time. We're finally set up and we're about to play a show, but then the cops shut it down. So what do we do now?
Fun is just not allowed. It's to be,
We threw a
keep
show.
a careful eye on fun.
I've been running that little venue, the water bottom stage in Norwalk. We have a Chase piano now, so we're getting silver coin level, silver dollar, and but the cops stopped by 3 times and gave tickets to people for no reason. And he's like, I have the papers, the registration, my car's right here. It's like, well, you can prove in court. Here's $100 court cost for you. It's like, okay, thanks, but. And then they stopped by, they're like, oh, we had a hang up 911 call in the area, is everyone okay around here? It's like, alright, fuck you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, they operate in a sort of, different mode up here. There's no preventative maintenance. They kind of just kind of let it get to that point and then respond when necessary.
Yeah. That's more appropriate. That's more along the lines of we'll let you guys do your thing and have fun until it becomes unruly. If it becomes a problem, then it's a problem,
Well, yeah, but hopefully not too big.
Yeah.
Things can get out of hand.
Always, I understand that, but I've had some
But
cops.
people work it out, especially, mountain people. We'll find a way,
Right.
It's all under control. It's
like almost an island mentality. Everybody knows everybody, and
I feel that way.
I'm sure the weather traps you up here at times too.
Oh, yeah.
Island politics become an actual thing at that point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's when it really is great being in a small town.
You're right.
When something happens and the community really pulls together. When we get buried in snow and they close the highways and nobody's getting in or out for a week or 2 at a time.
Yeah, you get The Shining, Jack Nicholson's tearing down walls with an axe.
Lots of great,
All work and no play, reject all boy.
See some of that.
Yeah.
And we see some really fun, neighborhood, some fun neighborly quarrels about putting snow from. There's nowhere for the snow to go.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm always taking
or
back.
if you take 6 hours to clear yourself a place to park and then somebody parks there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm always taking things. I like self-consciously right now. Like I'm always like taking things to certain types of extremes. I think in order to like, I don't know, not assert dominance, but just to make it like have teeth or something, right? Like, and I found that like people like, well, I've only really traveled to 2 locations outside of Ohio so far for this podcast. This is all kind of brand new to me still, but I went down to Asheville, North Carolina, and of course, everybody's amazingly laid back, you know? And so far here in Denver and surrounding areas here in Leadville, it feels like everyone's super laid back. You know, like...
That's because we did just crack into winter, you know? And that's always a big... release of a lot of anticipation, like I said.
Well, yeah, you were talking about like the barometer, like the pressures on altitude up
the
here.
change of seasons really is pretty intense.
Because I know, like, so, all right, at certain elevations, you have less air pressure because you have less, like, distance between the ground and the atmosphere, basically. So there's less air on top of you. And so
those are the great days. To be up here. Those are the ones I love. Low pressure days where it's just wide open. It feels like you're floating in the beautiful blue sky.
Yeah.
To be up here on one of those days, but yeah, if there's something big atmospheric stuff.
And I'm not sure if my headache has anything to do with that, but that seems to be the only change that I can like. Because I didn't drink anything last night, alcohol-wise. I didn't like, I didn't drink enough water, but I tried to. You know, like I drank about 3 bottles of water from bed, and I was hoping that would do the trick. You know,
I've been living here for a lot of years, man. Like I was telling you, just leaving and coming back. Yeah, sort of ravages my brain.
the water here is amazing. Like it's so good. Like and the whole like non-fluoridation thing. Like man, I get like just like the water in Norwalk is fluoridated, and I can just smell chlorine in it every time. I don't drink it, but I have to take a shower in it, and it's like I gotta get out of here. I gotta like release the fumes in this. You know, like I feel like I'm like damaging myself by like just breathing hot water. Vapor or whatever it is. And I'm just like, man, I hate that.
Oh yeah, I know. You do have good water up there, but
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to have good water.
It is, but you know what? That's a whole other science and subject, and a whole. There's a lot of politics around water.
Yeah.
So there's probably, I'm sure there's current issues going on right now that somebody's going to watch this podcast and be like, oh, you're talking about how good the water is, and there's probably stuff going on right now, big time issues, just about water rights, and I think actually they're putting in a whole new reservoir. They're about to flood a big valley just south of town. That's going to affect all the water distribution, around here in Denver and everything else.
Wow.
They're always...
It's becoming a hot button issue.
Yeah, it's a big hot button issue everywhere, especially in where there's been a lot of mining. We had big mining contamination.
Fracking and all that too.
Different areas.
Lots of fracking in Ohio and Midwest area.
Yeah, I wish I had enough space in my brain to really be, involved in all of these issues. People, like I said, my friend in the news, constantly grill me. Well, how can you be so blasé about such huge issues? I'm like,
trying to live life here at the same time, and like,
I Exactly.
If life would ever stop for a moment, that'd be nice.
They're playing music, you know.
As the phone bell rings, as the television's heard.
How can you be playing music for these politically affiliated people and this and all this other? Like, aren't you concerned about why Robert Gray isn't playing with Eric Clapton? It's like,
Or you're like,
no, I'm not. I'm thinking about like music. That's what I'm getting.
you're playing at a venue that won't turn off the sports TV, and everyone's cheering in the middle of your song, and you're like, okay, well, great. Like, I haven't even got there yet. It must be great. Like, I didn't know I climaxed yet. Like, here we are.
No, I just use it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
There's a lot of
folks.
energy in the room right now. I feel this.
Yeah. Yes, I knew they'd love that.
Let's play it on soccer, man. Like, Buckeyes just scored a touchdown right now,
Yeah. Feed off.
Yeah, for sure. Because it has momentum, and it's not your job to stop that momentum of energy. It's already just here, So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great, and that's what we need more of. And it's it's all about it's not a skill thing. It's just about a willingness. And every one of us
being able to have the lenses to see it and to account for it too.
Yeah.
Like if you're just bulldozing through everything, it's like, man.
And also to choose that, to choose it, see it as not only an option, but a pleasurable option.
Right.
And then after a while, the only option.
Yeah.
When circumstances get dire.
But what do we talk about?
I don't know.
I love it. Yeah. Exactly. When the chips are down and the shells are exploding over here and our flag is tattered to shreds.
Oh, my friend Lisa asking if we're still here.
Oh,
We can stop over and I'll...
Nice. What time is it by chance?
Hey Tyler, thanks for that little background music. Man. We were just talking. This is my buddy from Ohio, and he's up here. We've just been talking about music and jamming.
Yeah.
But,
man. I got some new drop email stuff I'm working on.
Really? Yeah. Well,
Some of that bluegrass type,
really?
type stuff.
Oh, heck yeah, I just started playing my banjo again after a lot of years with the fiddle band. But
I'm thinking about ordering, there's a 6-string band guitar.
oh, okay, yeah.
It's just strung like a guitar.
Yeah.
And I thought about getting that. I seen it on Amazon the other day.
I played with one, it's a lot of fun.
They're cool.
And you don't have to relearn.
Really? I'm a big ukulele player. I play ukulele a lot. I like that baritone.
Yeah. Those are great. Hell yeah.
I've actually been given a few lessons on ukulele.
Oh,
That's a lot of fun teaching people music. I taught music for 2 years back in Georgia at a guitar shop. I gave guitar lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing full time, and it's taken a while to like really get better at it, But man, I've been loving
You're
it.
teaching full time?
Pretty much, yeah. I've got 22 students.
That's awesome, man.
20, mostly piano students, and then a little bit of. I'm not much of a great guitarist, but I teach music. Sometimes with the guitar as an as the instrument.
I love teaching guitar.
I'm learning with them. We're going note by note. It's fun.
I like teaching the young guys to take a printout, your chord charts, everything.
Oh yeah.
So they go on with that. And I teach them bar tabs.
Oh yeah. We're learning a few different ways. One of my students, we alternate piano one week, guitar the next week. She's so skilled.
Yeah.
She can handle it. She can, and put it together. And that's really important. I think she's going to be way further advanced than some of my other students. Playing the same melody on 2 different instruments.
I got this kid I taught back home. He was 9. Started teaching him. heard him a couple months ago. He's better than me. He's incredible. He's just one of the people. He picked up the guitar. He's understood it. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a little. I can't say angry, jealous, about this. I have a 13-year-old student that's like that. And I tried to trick him up. I took him one of the Vince Guaraldi transcriptions.
Nice.
Because he's a fantastic classical player. But we were trying to, work on a little bit of.
Some of that stuff gets some weeds, man. I think it's hard.
Oh yeah, those the different
The breakdown to like Charlie Brown song or whatever.
The coordination required.
That's one thing I always had to learn a little more as a piano.
He fixed it in 1 week. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've been working on it." It was just like, I just cranked it out. I was like, "Okay, I'm giving you something harder." I was like, "All right, next week it's Liszt."
I got one piano student, and like last practice, we just kind of went back and forth between drums. He played drums, and I played piano, and he played piano, and I played drums. And we just kind of switched back and forth.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I love playing drums. I'm not the best drummer in the world.
I'm
I'm pretty good like pop drummer, pop stuff, two-step stuff. But I've always loved playing drums, man. I was never good enough to like be the drummer.
I'm pretty much.
I played drums for. I played drums for Matt, and he saw it about the extent of it. Just a little.
We were having some a little bit.
Drums is fun. You still playing with Jared?
Yeah, all the time, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of a good drummer, have you ever heard of my drums?
Oh yeah,
He's
I saw.
It's ridiculous, man. He's got some stuff now. He's been writing a lot of. He's got a studio now, so he's been writing a lot of this metal stuff, and he's got some stuff he can't even. He tabbed it out on the computer. On the computer, he can't even play. He's just so technical, dude. He's got a lot of sweet progressions in there and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. I wrote a piece one time. I wrote it in a day, and it took me like 2 years. So
Yeah.
Get good at playing it.
Sometimes I get in those moods like with acoustic. I'm trying to get so technical that I wrote it, but I can't play it all the way through. It takes me like a couple of weeks to get it where I can play it all the way through. So I like, especially like drop D. I like doing a lot of technical stuff, like acoustic.
Oh yeah.
Where you feel like, how is this even possible to do? And then you get to the point where you're like, oh, it's like muscle memory. At some point you're like, oh, I can't not do this.
Muscle memory is the biggest part about guitar playing. Once your hand figures it out,
Trained body.
How much are we really in control of this? Right?
I did that too, guys.
All right, thanks, bud. So let's see, what do we? We are walking that way, and then she's on her way down.
All right.
She's on her way down. So she'll be here at 1:15.
Okay. So we're recording about an hour and 15 right now.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's been fun. Yeah, I was all nervous. Like, no, don't put me on camera.
Yeah. See, it's not that bad, right?
He was like, it'll just be talking. Talk about books that you never read. It'll be super easy.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll even put the Browns game on for you.
Right, yeah. I don't have to think, I only have to do it. It's also always perfect. That's all.
It's nice. Well, you got a special insight into our band.
Yeah, and the sound, man. Like, I would never have a conversation like what just happened right there. God damn, that's so ridiculous. Like where sweeps are brought up, where a baritone guitar is brought up, in the same conversation where like drop D, bluegrass is brought up. Like, I'm like, okay.
It's not much different than the cook bringing a tenor sax out, like leaving with the band. All right, you guys are here,
Yeah.
Like that scene from Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah.
That's what's cool about this.
Ray, all the action is gone out of this keyboard. It's like, I think there's still some action left in there.
I use that reference.
Shake your tail feather.
I use that reference when I told my friend there's Takabini sitting up there at the Dollar, and he said, I don't want to play an old guitar with string. So I sent him that clip. Ain't nothing wrong with that action.
Yeah.
What you doing?
Ray, we're gonna put this on our tab as always.
Yeah, right. I figured as much. Whatever he says.
like to go write up the check on the dashboard.
Got a big Ray Charles fan. Something about his his life, his existence just rings true with everybody.
Yeah, it really does. He was so polished, man. He was so just in the popular like vein, you know, like he could do no wrong in a lot of aspects.
Just true to himself. That's where it came from. He just really learned to trust himself.
I mean, he had turmoil built into his life from the get-go, too, you know. And so that, that's going to put things in perspective. That puts you on track, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely does.
And, he learned gospel, and then he learned blues, he learned, you know, how to have fun with it, in a sense, you know.
Yeah, and deal with the challenges.
Lots of drugs, lots of affairs and things. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Trifecta there. In some aspects, alright, so do you know who Aldous Huxley is by chance? Author, did Brave New World, wrote Doors Perception.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'm familiar with the name. Yeah. Brave New World.
When I read Brave New World, I read it like 5 times. And then I read Doors Perception like 3, and then I started getting into his other like essay books, you know, things like that. He hit upon this idea about rock and roll. Well, before there was rock and roll, was when he was writing, right? But he was kind of relating it to music. He did a lot of like critiques of classical music, baroque music, and a lot of his early essays in the 20s and 30s. But then once he was like, he died actually the same day as JFK got shot. He was like tripping on acid, but he couldn't talk anymore in the hospital. I just like the story. I don't know. This is a whole different tangent, but yeah. So his wife was there with him when he was dying, and he wrote on a napkin. He wrote 100 milligrams LSD on his napkin because he wanted to be as close to the other side as he was dying to get there. You know, and he had never done any drugs like that up until he was like 50 years old in that campaign. Because he did a lot of studies on shamanism, he did a lot of studies on schizophrenics and mescaline and like what all these things were, you know. And that's points of interest for the writing essays, right? And he was really like a student of the world. And he's the reason why I didn't go to school for English or writing, because he was like, well, if you study writing, then you don't know what you're writing about. You don't have anything to write about, you know? But if you're studying the world, then you have a plethora of
right.
And you're writing in the form of what modern writing is today, not like studying classical literature. Not that classical literature is bad, but if you study it to a point where like that's how you want to write, it doesn't make sense to anybody to read that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of. I can definitely relate to that. My life through music. Like I haven't really been chasing or trying to say, a certain thing, learn a certain song or a certain style. It's basically just living my life in partnership with music. And build my skills so I'm able to, share my experiences and my present, in a musical sense. And so I really agree with that too. More about life, less about the delivery.
Yeah, because I heard it said by an artist the other day that like if life is your subject, you'll never run out of material, because life just keeps happening to you, regardless of what you're going to do or not. I mean, in that turn, that almost identifies how the mind works in itself. Because like, are we the things that is having thoughts? Like, I'm not inventing my thoughts. They're just happening to me, more or less.
It'd be nice if you could.
Well, in a way, we can.
Today, I'm going to be just stuck thinking about these 3 things.
Now, I would argue that indirectly we can affect our thoughts in the way that we. What are we like? What are we consuming as ideas? You know, if I can consume tons of ideas, and then like, you know, maybe I know a little bit about this, or this idea intrigues me and stays with me, and this idea I didn't really get, but maybe I got something from it, and then like those things kind of melt in your brain over 5 years or something, and then you read like a random science article, and then it just clicks, and you're like, oh, I think all of these things could work, you know, whatever it is. And it's not you really that's coming up with that idea, it's just you putting yourself in a situation where you can have access to a myriad of different, like, maybe even just historical timelines.
Some of those pathways, are planned, yeah. And in a sense, what I like to say is like trim the hedges a little bit of where you want your thoughts to go. It'll be, you'll have a cool conversation with one later today.
That's great.
Touches on this concept a little bit of solving.
Okay.
I don't really know all the theories.
I'm sure I'm going to find out, yeah.
But the way I like to think of it is, you know, knowledge is in the organization of thoughts. It's not in, you know, a lot of people think access to ideas and thoughts being hit with a million things at once makes it hard to know. Actually, you know, it confuses that. You know, so
I would agree.
what I've done, and especially, this is all part of the process of understanding like conditioning, recovery, and stuff like that. You know, it's better to have control of those thoughts, and you can't control where your thoughts go. But on a day-to-day process, you can trim the hedges. So you can think, oh, okay, yeah, there's that good thought that I want to, you know, I want to visit every other day. So, you know, you don't force yourself to think about it, but you just, the more and more you think about it, it strengthens that root. And
Kind of like
you
brain
have-
connections almost.
And you can't do that when you're not sober.
Right, that's true too.
You can't control it. Your thoughts like to run away and burrow deeper into those dark places.
It's almost, and
When you're not sober.
it's not like a totality of saying you can't do that when you're drunk or something, but generally speaking, I would say they're right. And
I think of, you can have great thoughts, but you're like adding to the pool.
Right,
When you're,
right,
you know,
yeah.
you can be drunk and add thoughts and, you know, cool, mysterious, intriguing, creative places. But when you're sober, it's your responsibility to build the roads to the good places.
yes, exactly. Because I think all thoughts that you're having happen for a reason, whether we always know about it. We don't always know what those reasons are, but it's really we have to be objective and say, hey, we're not our thoughts. I want to look at these thoughts that are happening and just attack them one by one. Why is this happening? Why is this thought happening still? You know, maybe I still need to learn something here, or maybe it's not anything. I just need to let it go.
Resolved for some reason.
Yes. And so you take certain parts of it that you think what it is at the time, that you think that you need, and you're like, okay, well maybe that's what it is, so I'm going to take that. And then I'm going to let it go. And then what's the next thought? Okay, here we go, you know, or whatever. And so you can only, maybe you only do that for 5 minutes of your day, you know. But it's enough to kind of like lead the garden a little bit, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Or trim the hedges.
Practice or just take responsibility for the process.
Because it's like it's growing, and it's like we're not in control of that, you know. But like you're saying too, what is knowledge and what is like a whole plethora of things, of information, you know, just at our fingertips at any given time. None of that matters unless you take it.
Connections. You have to build the roads.
And that is where it becomes wisdom. That's where it becomes actually useful. and then you can apply it, and you can, change the world.
Yes, you can. All from a simple cognitive process.
Like the instruction manual for anarchy and understanding and fixing the world and fixing the cultural mindset delusions. I don't know, stock words.
Oh, I thought you were making a reference. I was like, oh, what is this?
I'm almost there. The instruction manual for Spaceship Earth. No, that was Buck Mr. Fuller.
Oh, I like that guy.
Dude, yeah. He had a lot of good things to say. He had a lot of good things to say about the Navy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He talked a lot about seafaring societies and how it related to education and how it relates to if you don't have communication all over the world like we do now, like you have to teach your captain of your ships how, like, you have to have them memorized like certain things so they have the same knowledge base as all your other captains on the sea. That way they can communicate bigger ideas, and then you can communicate bigger ideas to them mathematically,
All
geometry,
about network that totally relate. Yeah, now that makes a little sense.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Pleasure.
Yeah, that's great. I remember being surprised and taken aback because I was a big fan of geometrics. For a long way. But I was reading an album. I opened up a gatefold, a Leon Russell album, and a little inscription in there. Dear listeners, learn everything you can about the principle.
Wow.
Love Leon Russell.
They realize that
Yeah,
it was on that level.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go refill my coffee.
All right.
Anyways, thank you very much for coming.
Cheers once again.
Cheers. And thanks again for listening to Leadville. Thanks everybody for being here, listening to us chat and ramble. We're always happy to do that.
Yo, come on back sometime.
I'm gonna say hi to my little buddy over here.
Nice. Yeah, so we're just finishing up here.
Cool.
Lisa?
Good.